Hello everyone, Jeff here again, making a second video today. This time it is going to be about records. This is another Spin Zone video, and I've got a smaller stack than last time of records to show that I've played, but I also have a small stack of records that I just got that I'm excited about showing you, even though I haven't listened to them yet. So, without any further ado, on the last video that I made, the last Spin Zone, I showed the Bee Gees' first album, and I said how much I liked that album, which I do. And I also had this album, Odessa, which is their third album, I believe, that I said I was going to listen to next, and I did. This is, I believe this is an original pressing. I looked the matrix numbers up on Discogs, and the Bee Gees' first I was able to track down. That is an original stereo pressing. This one I couldn't find. I found matrix numbers that were similar, but judging by the label, I'm guessing it's a early stereo pressing. So, and it's got the felt cover, which is basically intact. You know, there's really nothing on the back here. The gatefold opens up into a vertical picture, as you can see. I think this kind of was supposed to be a concept album by the Bee Gees, because like the first track, you know, which is called Odessa, City on the Black Sea, which is about this ship that sank and this guy who's stranded on like this island. And a couple other songs like You'll Never See My Face Again. Seemed like they were trying to go for a concept type of thing, but it really doesn't hold together all that well as a concept album. But as a collection of songs, it's really great. I have to say, this follows, you know, in that same with that same statement I made in the last video. This is nothing like the disco Bee Gees. So if you're put off by all of their records because of that, I would recommend checking this album out if you can find a copy. And I got this from that jerk-off seller that I've talked about before in the past. This was actually one of the first ones I saw, and I just grabbed it because I'd seen these online going for just stupid money, and when I saw this, I just grabbed it. So I lucked out in getting this one. But yeah, the title track is really good, and that's like a 7.5 minute epic song, you know, leading off the album. Black Diamond has a incredibly catchy chorus that I was humming for like a day or two after. Marley Pert Drive is another catchy song. Edison, Melody Fair. These are all super catchy songs. They all should have been hits, and I don't think there was a hit off of this album. I think they released... What did they release? The 1st of May. That's a song off of side 4. I think that was the single, and it went nowhere. And it caused a rift among the Gibb brothers, and this album ended up flopping, and the band ended up splitting up for a while, and they didn't have another hit for years. So it seemed like this record, even though it's, you know, it's a named Odessa, and I think it's ostensibly about a ship that sinks, probably should have called this more like Titanic, because this almost sank their careers. But what a record. This is, well, it's a double album. Highly recommend it. If you can find it in whatever format, it's really, really good. And like I said, there's no real chart hits off of it, but boy, you start playing these songs over and over again, and they work their way into your mind. And they're just great pop songs. And it's what makes this even more of an anomaly, I can talk, is that, you know, this came out in 1969, and by then, you know, music was kind of getting away from that overly, you know, orchestral highly produced sound. You know, everyone was kind of getting back to where they once belonged, and you had, you know, the Beatles going with the stripped down sound, and you had like the band and other acts who were just playing more simpler rock and roll. So this coming out at the time, it kind of makes sense why it flopped, because it really kind of goes against the style of music that was popular back then. But boy, I tell you, this is a really great album. I think I almost like this better than their first. So if you know anything about this album or not, I highly recommend that you get this. Don't let any preconceived notions about the Bee Gees affect your decision. Listen to me now and believe me later. Get this record, Odessa by the Bee Gees. It's great. This next album doesn't have a cover. All it has is a sleeve. This is a Grand Funk album called On Time. And I found this inside a different album. It was kind of like a bonus record. It was like a surprise that I didn't expect or see or discover till much later. So the good news is I got a free record out of it, but the bad news is that's all I got was the record, no cover. So it's the On Time album by Grand Funk Railroad. No real hits off of it. I cleaned it up. It's in kind of rough condition. It plays decently, but this would be a good candidate, like for when I was doing the contest entry about different music genres, the Broad Strokes one. This could have easily been the classic rock entry, because there's probably no more classic rock band than Grand Funk. Or the Doobie Brothers, which was what my answer originally was. But after I played this, I was like, oh man, this would have been my pick. But it's just basic, straight ahead 70s hard rock. So it's good, and it'll go into my collection, but if anyone's got a spare cover for On Time, call me. And then I played the other album that I got from Hannah. This is the Blues Project comp. And here it is. There's the back cover. I've showed this one recently. It's on the Verve Forecast label. It's in really great shape. It really plays beautifully. It sounds great. And like I said before when I originally showed it, I'm very glad to have some Blues Project in my collection now. I remember these guys, and my old girlfriend used to have a couple of Blues Project albums, but like so many of the other ones that I remember, they went bye-bye when we split, so that's life. But now I've got something of my own to put in my own collection, so very appreciative of that. So, and this is very, I mean, and these guys are very much like the Butterfield Blues Band. You know, they've got that guitar sound, you know, that blues guitar sound that, you know, the white guys like to play in the 60s, kind of. It's good stuff, though. I really like them. And then follow that with a soundtrack. This is the soundtrack to the movie Against All Odds, and you can see it's a promo copy. It's got the big giant sticker on here. That's okay, I'll leave it, it's fine. This is actually like half of a good album, because the first side, you know, has the monster hit on it by Phil Collins, Against All Odds. But you also get a song by Stevie Nicks. You get a song by Peter Gabriel called Walk Through the Fire, which was really quite good. But the second side is all background music. It's all instrumental. So, not really my cup of tea. This was only like $2, which is why I bought it. And I'll keep it in my collection. It's fine. But I don't go for a lot of those instrumental background pieces in soundtracks. So half of a good album, half, you know. And then I played a couple this morning. This one I posted on Facebook. This is the brand new reissue of Tinderbox by Siouxsie and the Banshees. This album contains my favorite song by them called Cities in Dust. Great, great song. Here's the back. This was reissued by remastered by Abbey Road Studios. From the original analog tape. And it comes with the custom inner sleeve with all of the lyrics. I'm assuming this is just a replica of the original. And then you get the second sleeve with the record, 180 gram vinyl. Sounds great, plays great, is great, highly recommended. And like I said on Facebook, I really don't see Siouxsie and the Banshees get very much love here in the BC. And I know that several of their albums were recently remastered and reissued. And I'll probably, maybe in the future, try to get some more. We'll see. But I knew I had to have this one because, like I said, I really liked Cities in Dust. So, and I wanted to have a physical copy on vinyl. So that's why I got this Tinderbox by Siouxsie and the Banshees. And then after that, as I was cleaning the batch of records that I'm going to show next, I played this album here by Paul Carrack called Groove Approved. And I got this off of eBay. This was a sealed copy when I got it, so it's brand new. Basically, this album came out in 1989. And it also has a custom inner sleeve. Got a little bit of a fold to it, but it's fine. This thing hasn't been opened in 30 years, so it's in pretty darn good shape, all things considered. And it has the 80s style, late 80s record label by Chrysalis Records, as you can see. Hold it up the right way. This is pretty much, I mean, I'm a fan of Paul Carrack. If, you know, he sang and had many hits with other bands. You know, he sang How Long with his band Ace in the 70s. Tempted for Squeeze when he guest starred on their album East Side Story. Also sang with Mike and the Mechanics, had a few hits with them, and then even had some solo hits of his own in the 80s. I didn't recognize any songs off of it when I bought it. You know, the price wasn't that bad. So, and I'm a fan of Paul Carrack, so I just took a chance. It's very of its time. It's very 80s sounding. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's pretty much just him and like a drummer and a guitarist. So it's really only like a trio working on this album. And T-Bone Wolk is the producer, and he also plays bass and guitars. And you recognize him. He played bass with Hall & Oates, and he did, you know, the famous riff for songs like Maneater and stuff like that. So this copy plays beautifully. You know, it was brand new, and it was mastered at Masterdisc by Bob Ludwig, and it was direct metal mastered. It's got the DMM and the Dead Wax, so the sound is pristine, and the songs are just basic 80s pop songs. So if you like Paul Carrack's voice, you'll like this album. If you don't, then you won't. So but I do. So this was a good listen. Groove Approved by Paul Carrack. Now, I've got to show you these albums. These just came in this week. As I've said before, my new record purchasing has dwindled to almost nothing since the last record show I went to a couple of months ago. And for good reason. You know, I've worked down my my stack of records that I've already bought but haven't listened to yet. Basically, I had a full crate and like 2 stacks of albums, and I've listened the pile down to just what's in the crate now. So I'm making a lot of progress. Of course, I got 6 more albums just now, so that's going to reverse some of that progress. But I'm too happy to care about that right now. So let me show you these quickly. This one here is probably the closest thing to a Grail record that I had currently, just because of the degree of difficulty in actually getting it. And that is Psionic Sunspot by the Dukes of Stratosphere. I've got their EP, which is called 25 O'Clock. I found that at a record show, and I'd been wanting to get the full-length album that they released, this one here. But I never saw it in the wild. I never saw it at the record shows that I've been to. Lost several auctions for it, and it just, it's on Geffen Records. It was just elusive. It was one of those records that I just couldn't finally get until I finally lucked out. Saw this on eBay for buy it now, so I just bought it. It ended up costing me like $20, but I don't care. It's a mint condition record. It looks mint. I hope it plays as good as it looks. So, yeah, I was very, very happy to get this one. This is I think this just about completes the XTC related run that I'd been collecting. So I'm going to start listening to those albums very quickly, very soon now. You'll be seeing XTC albums popping up in these videos. So, very happy to get the Dukes of Stratosphere, Psionic Sunspot. And then the rest of these albums, there are 5 of them. They're all by the same artist, that being Robyn Hitchcock. So I know Hannah's a fan of Robyn Hitchcock. I hope some of you others are too, because when I found these on eBay for a decent price, I was thrilled. So in chronological order, the first one I was able to get was Element of Light. This was his album that he did with the Egyptians in the mid-'80s. As you can see, it's a gold stamp promo. And this was a mint condition album, and it also has the custom inner, as you can see, on Relativity Records. And I mean, even though this back cover is marked up somewhat, that really doesn't matter. The cover is in basically good shape, considering it's a 30-some-year-old record. So Element of Light was the first one. Very happy about that. And then I got Queen Elvis. This came out in 1989, I believe. And you can see the hype sticker there. This is also a gold stamp promo. I got all these from the same seller. So most of these Hitchcock albums are promos. And then you can see the track list. This was in the prime of his A&M Records heyday. You see the 80s style A&M label. And it also has a custom inner with a very, very long, I'll have to read this. It's got a very long essay or story or something written on it, along with the lyrics. So, very happy to get this one. This one was very tough for me to find. Never saw it in the wild, and the ones that I would find online are just asking stupid money for it. So, I got this one for relatively cheap too. And then, after that, I'm even more thrilled to get Perspex Island. This was his album from 1991. It's got 2 of his biggest hits on it. So You Think You're in Love and Ultra Unbelievable Love. Here's the back. And you can see it's also a gold stamp promo. Very happy to get this one. I remember these songs, the songs off of this album, in heavy rotation on XRT when I listened to them on a daily basis in 1991. So this record was in heavy rotation. With it being an early 90s album, I know finding it on vinyl is a lot harder because vinyl was getting a lot rarer back then. So And I'd never seen this anywhere. This was the first copy that I even saw online of Perspex Island, so I grabbed it as soon as I could. And this one was like 25 bucks. So yeah, it's a little pricey, but the record's like brand new. I gave these a light cleaning in the spin clean. This one did not have a custom inner sleeve. It just had a regular paper sleeve. But Perspex Island, another album he made with the Egyptians, his backing band. Very happy to get that. Then a mid-90s album called Mossy Liquor. Now, the original, this is kind of like a companion to the album called Moss Elixir, which this would be the front cover for that album. Now, this album contains most of the same songs, some of them in different versions, some of them in demo versions. And this would be the back cover for Moss Elixir, but with this being Mossy Liquor, they flipped it. So, okay, whatever. And he was on Warner Brothers by the time this came out, which was 1996, I believe. So, and this was a vinyl-only release, as far as I recall. I don't think it got CD release until many years later. It was put out like as a twofer. They put both albums on one CD. But for a long time, I know this was just a vinyl-only release. Mossy Liquor, just Robyn Hitchcock, not with the Egyptians. He was gone from them by then. And finally, the soundtrack to the movie, the concert movie called Storefront Hitchcock. This was a double album. I have not seen this movie yet. I don't know where I can find it. I'll have to try to track it down somewhere. This is a double album. There are some videos of it on YouTube, I know, and this album actually was in the shrink. It was opened, but it was still in the shrink. You can see the gatefold here. And when I opened it, it had this sheet of paper inside, which I honestly haven't read yet, but I found that in there, and it's a double album, and the albums are in lovely condition. I'll just show you one of them right here on the, still on the Warner Brothers label. This came out in 1998. So very happy to get this one and all the others. So my Robyn Hitchcock collection is growing, and I'm filling in a lot of holes, and I'll be listening to those albums. That'll be a big time listening project to come soon. So, like I said, I haven't listened to them yet, but I was thrilled to get them, more than other albums that I've gotten recently. It goes into that whole thrill of the hunt thing, and the rarity and the difficulty. The degree of difficulty in getting these records was tough. So, for that regard, I'm very glad to have them, and I'm sure I will enjoy the crap out of them when I do listen to them. So, that's it. Thank you all for watching. Hope everybody has a great week. I just got off a third shift, which always blows my mind out. So, and I have 12 hours tomorrow, so that's why I'm cramming videos in today. And I'll probably post this tomorrow because I already posted one video today. So I'll do this tomorrow. All right. Everybody have a good weekend. Take care. Peace. And I'll see you soon.